USC 242, 1983, violation of due process. What does that mean? That means when somebody violates your right, when they do something that they really shouldn't do. Say, for instance, DCF. DCF. I'm going to use a prime example. My family came at me in the year of 2007 with a fictitious faxed warrant of abandonment. And when I tell you that, I mean that. Why and how? I had been living in Vermont, Island Pond, Vermont. November 4th of 2006, I went to Brighton Elementary School. I opened up that door. I had a plane ticket in hand. I had bought it at the Travel Center in Lyndonville, Vermont. I went in and I announced to Mrs. Gervais, who was the secretary at the Island Pond School, that I would be leaving on December 4th and I would be back December 8th. I was going on a 3-day stay down in Florida because I was moving my family at the end of the school year of 2007. I have every single right to do that. That's my family. Those are my kids. So with that being said, the school knew, and in preparation of that, Mary Hare decided that her and her clowns needed to grab a hold of my daughter, Brianna. Well, they started playing this game behind my back, and my daughter ended up from an honor roll student in a classroom of a homeroom teacher named Jerry Whitaker. And as a result, she was removed from there. Mr. Whitaker had written a letter to the school board supervisory of North Country Union, supervisory of the school district of North Country in where? Northeast Kingdom, Vermont, Newport, Vermont, okay? So, knowing that he had been a teacher for approximately 23 years at that time, he wrote a letter in regards to, he had a great concern about the personal growing relationship between IEP teacher Mary Hare and his student BK, being my daughter. Why wasn't I ever made aware of that letter? But 3 weeks later, he was fired. But he was rehired in the same what? Same area at the Irisburg Elementary School. Now, with that being said, he obviously didn't do something wrong, but somebody's got something they're covering, correct? So with that, it went on that Brianna gets kicked out of school. She gets suspended in December during the time that I was leaving to go find a new home for me and my children. Okay? So knowing that I gave a 30-day notice and they were in the care of a friend and, a friend that they were comfortable with to watch over them while I was gone. Now, I have all right to do that, right? So knowing that I did that and they decided to start playing games with Bree, kick her out of school, said she couldn't go back until I was home. So I drove home in a blizzard from the airport, and to make sure that I was there when Judy Castonguay came to my home and told me that Mr. Michael Knox, known as Dr. Michael Knox, in Friendship Township, I believe, in New Jersey now, okay? I call it New Jersey because where I come from, it's Jersey. And there's a difference, because Jersey, we're real about shit. We don't lie, cheat, and steal. But this black person that came to the town of Island Pond, being the only black guy in town, he wanted a major raise for being what? Was that what? Was that in order that you wanted an $83,000 pay? You wanted a raise. Why? Because you wanted them to pay you for helping them take my kids from me? How many other kids, Michael Knox, did you assist in taking away from parents? So noting, it leads up to Teddy Miller, the old constable of Island Pond. He decided that he was going to start charging me with truancy. He sent me 8 tickets in the mail, never pulled me over on these 8 tickets, but he mailed me these 8 tickets and said that they were driving tickets, okay, violations, traffic tickets. Now, at the same time, I'm aware that he had this relationship ongoing with my sister. She ain't my fucking sister. She's my mother's other daughter is what it is. And she ain't even my mother, because a real mother wouldn't act the way my parents do. Okay? So, with that being said, we're going to get back to the fact that Teddy Miller entered into the NCIC, I got a copy of the report, okay, it's still on my email, a false warrant for my arrest in 2007. So we're leading up to, he caused all these problems, there was all this bullshit, all these, frivolous acts, he's knocking on my door, truancy. I had taken my kids out of school until we had a board meeting with a guy named Kenneth Johnson, and Michael Knox, the principal, tried saying that I was racist. I ain't racist. It all depends on who you are. Has nothing to do with your color or where you come from, okay? And I proved my point there. But he decided he was going to, what? He assaulted me with a door. Nobody ever did anything about that, but they tried to cover it. You can't cover something when it's the truth. The truth is always going to prevail. And in my medical records that they were supposed to give to me from Island Pond last year, being 2021, and this is how many years later? 15 years later, right? I got my records, and in those records, how many times did the state of Vermont police come with a search warrant? Not just once, but I heard they came to my house a second time trying to take my paperwork. Proof and evidence that Michael Knox had assaulted me. Judy Castone accompanied me at the Island Pond Medical Center, and the documentation isn't the same as the report. With that being said, there's some more proof. Frivolous act and cover-up. State of Maine didn't do this. The state of Vermont did. The state of Maine, I lived in with my kids for 14 years with no issues. It's the people in the state of Vermont that gained interest in my daughters. Because why? Is it because we're indigenous? Is it because our grandfather is who he was? The founder of Cape Cod, Massachusetts, Yarmouth Port? Or what really is it? Is it the intelligence that you're trying to dumb down? What is it that you want me and my children? Why is it now that the state of Vermont wants us dead? They tried to kill my daughter. Isn't that right, TJ Donovan? With all these medications that you force onto my daughter through Northeast Kingdom Mental Health Services? I have all reason to believe and none to doubt you did that frivolously as a gear up to try to retaliate against me and my daughter because of what? All the lawsuits that we have paperwork right here proving that we filed against you before you started this bullshit with my daughter and myself. Getting, what, locked out of our apartments? How do you get locked out of an apartment like that? Violation of due process, 1983. We had apartments. Leased apartments. We never got eviction notices. Nothing. But locked out. We lost all our possessions. Personal information and identifications. Everything. At the hands of Michael Hatton, the slumlord, my opinion, and it's a strong one, because there was disgustingness, there was drugs in that apartment building, there were bed bugs in that apartment building. I still have the notification that he was coming around because there were bed bugs in there. There weren't bed bugs in my apartment, but there sure to hell were throughout the apartment building. There were animals downstairs that you can't even walk down one side of the building because it smelled like a fucking barn on the indoors. And then you got drugs being made on the other end of the apartment building. So you could smell all that bullshit being made, all the chemicals and everything. I've still got the letters that I wrote to the landlord in regards to all of it. My rights were being violated. So I'm going to get back to violation of due process, which is 1983. Violation of due process means when somebody does something with no right to do it. Like taking my grandson from my daughter. My daughter was abused. And her perpetrator now has my grandson. The hands of the state of Vermont. Directed by Attorney General TJ Donovan. I am insisting that there be an investigation. I have requested it, I've asked for it, and now I'm insisting for it. I want an investigation into TJ Donovan. I want him impeached, and I want the whole nation to know. And I want answers as to why my grandson was taken into custody by DCF Newport, Vermont. I want to know why my home had a search warrant. I've got cameras on me day in and day out. I have no time and no privacy. Violation of due process 1983. And with that being said, I want to read an email. Letter of request. Acknowledgement from a young person that said she tells her social worker all the time that she's being abused. My daughter told him too. My daughter was found to be abused, DCF, twice, that I'm aware of so far. Jeffrey Hare abused my daughter, and it was founded by DCF in Newport, Vermont. It was in the paperwork. Subsequently, and I showed it on video, and then all my videos got deleted that had anything to do with what the government and the state officials have done to us. Had that happen, who got into my Google account? Was it whoever's following me other than the government, or was it the government themselves? Remember, back in 2019, I went to the federal court in Burlington, Vermont. Why did I have to leave my phone down there with the security? And then I never got my phone back. How does that happen? We're talking about 2022 right now, right today. I still never got my phone back. I have so many papers filed in my box right here. Copies that were sent off to Attorney General T.J. Donovan, the Secretary of State, Department of Labor, Department of everybody. So where's the information? Are you going to say you never received it? Because it shows when I get an email. And why is it that Essex County Court never answers email confirmation that they get my information, all the information and documentation that I have filed? Why is it that nobody ever answers to it? The only thing they do is violate me and retaliate against me. Not only me, but my daughter. So with that being said, violation in process, USC 242-1983, they had no business or right. They had no proof of anything when they came and took my grandson from my daughter after she had been abused. And I got all audio recording of what I've got the audio recordings, and I've shared it here to YouTube. My daughter talking to the police and requesting that he not be back up there or he be arrested if he came back up. Why didn't he get arrested? But instead, she got charged and her son taken from her and locked out of her apartment and lost everything that she had. Why? Why, Vermont? We want these questions answered. And I'm going to share this now to everybody in the nation. And then we're going to regress. We're going to progress too. But we're going to address it to Washington, D.C. How about that? Seems how Vermont doesn't want to answer to what they've done. Doesn't anybody agree? It's time to go to Washington, D.C. And if anybody else anybody has been out here being abused, violated in any single way by town, city, county, state, or federal government officials, please join us. We're willing. Travel with us. We all want answers from Washington, D.C. We want to know why these states are hiding the information. And I've got email after email after email. I've got pictures from the newspaper that proves I was running. I had full intent to run for state representative 2020, but I was running for my life because I had to file protection from a harassment and illegal surveillance against the government and the state of Vermont. And in the meantime, 3 days after it was announced in the paper that I had the intent to run for state representative 2020, my mail was being diverted back. It was received by the federal court on November 26th, return to sender. How does that happen? 3 days after it's announced. Return to sender, no forwarding address. Tell me that my mail wasn't tampered with by the United States federal government? I want some answers. I still got the emails, and I've got the email photos of images and more images of photos that I shared with the United States Postal Service and the whole state of Vermont, Bernie Sanders, and more. So why are you going to keep on voting for criminals is what I want to know. And with that being said, I'm not an attorney, but I can tell you I know your rights and I know my rights. And when you tell me your caseworker won't respond, they have a responsibility, and that is to look out for your best interest. So therefore, they're violating your rights, and that would be violation of due process. You have the right. So when you try to tell DCF or whoever about everything that's happened, and you're told that you're lying and that you were lucky to live in such a loving home. How's it loving when, like, for instance, my daughter was abused by the Border Patrol supervisor founded by DCF in Newport, Vermont. In the paperwork, I got the paper and the proof of it. Okay? So with that being said, I really feel sad for any of you that don't know your rights out here. But it's time that you learn your constitutional rights, your human rights, your civil rights, your disability rights, and all. And do you know that disability is only a label by the government? Nobody's disabled. It's only because you don't do what they want you to do. So they're going to dumb it down by telling you that you're disabled and limit your income. You're never going to be able to be anybody as long as you stay on disability. And that's the way they want it. How can you produce anything for your family or provide for your family if you're on a limited income and they set it up like that? Say, for instance, you go and you ask for assistance from the town because you couldn't meet your needs. You know what they're going to tell you? And they're going to ask you. First, they're going to tell you, well, we can't help you, and here's why. Because if you couldn't meet your needs this month and your income is not going to change for next month, then that's a situation that's ongoing, so therefore they can't continue to assist you. They can only assist you once, but they're only going to put their money towards a assistance that's going to be ongoing, and you're going to be able to continue paying on your way, which you know you're not going to be able to, and they know you're not going to be able to, so it's a setup for failure. And why? Because they're state and federal government funded. Plain and simple. On the set amount of disability that people are making, or receiving, I should say, receiving, because they're not making it. It's already been paid in, and now it's being received back. It's limited. There's no way your $800 check is going to cover your $1,200 a month rent, plus your $500 a month rent, heat, electric bill, okay? Because you get $1,200 rent, you get $500 worth of the electric and the heat. How does that work on an $800? Nobody's going to help you. So you're going to become homeless. It's not your fault. Whose fault is it, though? That's what people need to pay attention to. If you are tired of being homeless, if you are tired of being limited access, do something about it is my advice, and my opinion is what I do. I'm not going to sit around and let the government tell me that I can't do what I want to do. I'm not a criminal. I'm not out here hurting anybody. I don't have any intent to. But I do have the intent to progress in life and get back to where I want to be. On my own, independent, not worrying about a damn thing. I want to make my own money, and that's my right to do so. I want to pay taxes, and that's my right to do so. I want my own piece of property again, and that's my right to do so. I want to be left the fuck alone, and that's my right to do so. I don't need anybody coming around bothering me. And when my house says no trespassing and you violate that, I don't appreciate it. And with that being said, everybody has the right not to be violated. That's another one of your basic rights. Okay? Another one of your basic rights is what? Adequate shelter. Food, water, heat, and everything you need in life. So why are you being deprived? Deprivation of rights? I can teach you a whole lot more if you want to pay attention. So with that being said, I'm going to say there's also 42 U.S.C. Code 1980. Do you know what that is? Probably not, because they didn't teach you in school, okay? 18 U.S.C. Code 2258 is failure to report child abuse. Excuse me. I made the complaints to Vermont State Police, and I have a copy of the records and reports. Therefore, when I made those complaints, they should have reported them. Isn't that right, Vermont State Police? So when I told you that Kevin Bickford was abusing my grandson and my daughter, why did you not check into it? That's a violation of their rights. 18 U.S.C. 2258, failure to report child abuse.